Everybody? Yeah, yeah. We got Family Beach Day today, so let's go. Absolutely. How you doing?
Talked to Micah Parsons about his trade request.
I've talked to Micah. I've talked to all of our guys, and great conversations. Not going to share with you guys what he and I talked about, but again, I know you guys are going to ask it. I get that. I'm not going to continue to talk about Micah's contract situation. A lot of great things going on. I get it. Seriously, you guys have a tough job to do, and you're going to get bored with this press conference if we keep asking it. But again, had great conversation with him. You know, you guys know me. I'm transparent. I talk to all of our guys. Always have, always will, and good conversations.
I feel like it will be a distraction in any sort of way because of obviously we're reporting about it and he's a high-profile player.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, look, our guys are focused on what we're trying to build. They're focused on what we're trying to build on the field and the meeting rooms. As we get closer to a game week, it's kind of exciting, and get the Rams coming in here next week. So there's plenty of things for us to focus on. We're almost through the install. So, I don't think so. Look, it's going to be talked about. We've talked about it anytime you're sitting in this chair with this organization. There's going to be things that are hot topics amongst the masses. But our guys have a very singular focus, and that's getting better and getting ready to have a hell of a practice today.
Until DLLS Cowboys, just from an administrative standpoint, do you expect him to be at practice as he was the past few weeks? I mean, is there any expectation on how he's going to move out here going forward?
I would hope so. I would expect to see him out there today, and again, we'll see about that. But like I said, the conversations and stuff that he and I have had, we talk about a lot of different things, and all very positive.
As you were thinking about becoming a head coach, I don't know if distractions were part of that whole, how do I manage those type of things? I guess the honeymoon's over, so to speak. You've got all this other stuff that you envision handling off the field stuff, and how do you go forward trying to manage expectations and limit distractions and focus on football?
Yeah, I think, Clarence, when you look at the situation, being around the game so long, I've always had to deal with the issues. I haven't had to always step to a mic every day and talk about them and address it. But like I said, I've been very open about, I think over the past 5 or 6 years, the transparency and the authenticity that I carry myself with is never going to change. And so when you're a coordinator, there's different distractions and there's things that you can't control. And when you're the head coach, you can control those things. And that's not just how you practice and the practice schedules and the way you travel and things like that. But distractions are part of the game. And we limit them. We address the ones we feel like we have to. But I'm the same person every day, and I'm not surprised by things that you have to deal with. I wake up every morning and know there's going to be things that I wasn't anticipating happening. And I relish those things.
A few teammates have changed things on social media to show us support for Micah. Do you support that? Is that part of the brotherhood? Does that get into their head about what's going on with Micah and how that affects them on the field?
No, I think it's good that our guys are loving and supporting one another. That's part of being a team. But again, I don't get caught up in all that stuff. Again, we got 91 guys here, and again, I get fueled off of the energy and stuff that I feel in the meetings and on the practice field. That's what fuels me.
Brian Schottenheimer with ESPN. Do you feel caught in the middle in this situation between Micah and management?
No, because I'm in communication with everybody. I'm talking to the players all the time. I'm talking to ownership all the time. Steven and Jerry and I talk all the time. Will McClay. Again, the business side is the business side, and we're not the only team in the league that's going through this. It's what happens in big business and with elite players. And but no, I think I'm certainly someone that has the ability to have conversations and taking a lot of information, and I'm able to look at things from all sides and then communicate directly with the people that it affects.
What have been your impressions of the pass rushers not named Micah so far in camp?
Really, some guys have jumped out. Sam Williams having a hell of a camp. Nobody's surprised by that, just because of we know the type of athlete he is, the speed, the power. Donovan Ezaraku has shown up for sure. We've talked about him a little bit. Just his first step quickness is really incredible. The ability to run games and the suddenness of the games. Dante Fowler's having a great camp. Marshawn's doing some good things. So really, most of those guys have showed up. They're giving our tackles, great work. And from the inside, Osa's always going to do his thing. Solomon's been great. Mozzie's been pushing the pocket. Again, I love the competition. You guys saw a little bit yesterday or 2 days ago, I guess. We did the one-on-ones. That was fun film to watch. Watch the not just the receivers, DBs, and tight ends and safeties and backs, linebackers, but I always default to watching the big guys and watch them go, bat a little bit, because when you have pads on, that's the stuff that gets you excited. But I will think that, again, we can create problems with people because of the way we play initially with the attack front, but also with the depth that we have on the defensive line.
John Machado with The Athletic. What did you guys like about La'el Collins? How do you think he fits for you guys?
He looks amazing. I was here when LC came back a year or two ago, whenever it was, and when I saw him yesterday, I was like, wow, he's really he's thin in a good way. He looks like he's been busting his ass, and obviously the experience, we feel great about that, and it was good to see him. The guys were excited to see him, but just trying to add some veteran presence in the offensive line. We're beat up a little bit over there, but it was good to see him, and he looks great.
And then do you expect to have Tyler Smith out there today?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I do.
Nick Harris, Forward Star Telegram. Other than being on the sideline and on the field or in meetings or whatever, what value has Micah Parsons brought while you've been in camp?
I see him teaching the young guys, man. I see him, leaning into, Donovan, teaching guys, hey, attack the offensive tackle this way. Hey, maybe counter with this, or hey, what'd you see there? Almost doing some coaching. I think that's really, really good, and he does a really good job of his football instincts are really impressive. He's very, very smart, and he understands the game, and but I love the fact that he's trying to lead into those guys, lean into them, and get them kind of caught up, and they listen because of obviously what he's done and how he's produced, and it's been fun for me to kind of look across the way and see him after maybe the ones leave, and he's got a couple of those guys he's talking to about different things, hand placement and stuff like that.
You guys have thrown a lot of different nickel options with the first team. What have you liked about that competition this morning?
Love it. That's what we want. Again, we're moving some pieces around the secondary, as you guys have known and asked. We're moving the pieces around a little bit. Duran being back now has been good for him to get those reps. Again, Keemon Hall's made some really good plays for us. He's an excellent blitzer coming off the edge. That's something that jumps off the film at you. Zion has done a nice job for a young player. I think you see some of the skills that we saw coming out of Kentucky that we really liked. But we'll keep trying different, groups and units. And the biggest thing from the nickel is the ability to communicate and talk. And I think offensively we're throwing a lot of things at them in terms of tempo, shifts, motions, things like that they're having to adjust to. And I will say that the communication has been very, very good from the nickels.
Tommy Yarsh, DallasCowboys.com. 34 days after Myles Garrett put in a trade request, he got a deal done. Yesterday was 34 days until you guys open against Philly. Do you feel like Mike will be on the field with you?
So you're just going to keep asking those questions when I told you that I'm just going to keep saying I'm not talking about Micah's contract situation. Mike is a competitor, and I hope to see Mike out there soon. And when the business gets worked out, it gets worked out.
And then we saw some of the tight ends working with the tackles in practice the other day. How important is it for them to kind of be on the same page when they're in line together?
No, it's huge. I would say actually looking back on last year, that was one of the areas that we weren't very good at, Tommy, getting the tackles and tight ends to communicate and talk. And so we do different things, but those group periods where those guys work together is critical because you're teaching these guys how to communicate, how to talk, how to share information. If you think about it, when you look at the way the game's played, the center gets up there, he addresses the ball, he makes a point, he has the communication, and then it's got to get passed up and down the line. One of the things that the music does, other than just, create energy, is it makes our guys have to truly talk because it's a little loud at times, especially when we're on the far end down by the speakers. And those guys have really done a nice job. It's a credit to Connor and Clayton, and then, of course, L-Dub, that those guys are doing a much better job. But without those periods where they're working together and they're communicating, we're changing the looks on them from the front, whether it's a tackle bubble, tackle covered look. Without making them do that in a group period, it's never going to be as good as it should be in the team period. So that's why you do those drills.
Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. You've talked a lot about your coaching inspirations throughout your time being an assistant and obviously your dad. In terms of handling tough situations, kind of like we got right now, who inspired you and what lessons did you learn?
I think I took a little bit from everybody, Joe. My dad was always very forthright, very upfront. I think that's where I get my ability to have, real, authentic, sometimes hard conversations. But again, I think, at the end of the day, I'm who I am. And when I bring a player in, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's a hard topic, whether it's a great, exciting topic, whatever it is, I'm going to always be authentic. I'm always going to be true to who I am. And I don't shy away from having real conversations with these guys, just like I don't shy away from having real conversations with the coaches and my family, and that's just the type of person I am. I would rather get everything out on the table and have us at least understand where we're coming from on both sides of it. And at the end of the day, I can deal with that. And sometimes people like what I say, sometimes they don't. But at the end of the day, it's coming from a place of that I care, and I'm committed to doing what's best for this team to win a championship.
No Miles Sanders last practice. Are you expecting him to be out there today?
Yeah, I think I'll find out when I go in there a little bit today, but it could be a couple days for him. But again, nothing that we're worried about.
Jeff Gould with Fox 4. Forgive me for one more question on Micah, but you've talked about from the start when you took this role just how important relationships are to you. You spoke specifically with Micah about how you've been building that relationship going back years, even being on the offensive side of the ball. How grateful are you for that, and how much can that serve you in this situation?
I think that's a benefit, Jeff. I mean, I think the fact that I've been around and I know a lot of the players, and I'm not just whatever got the job late January. I'm not 7 months into this thing where I'm still getting – these guys have seen me from afar on defense and on offense, really, from the time I was a consultant, but then being here the last couple of years. I think they know me. I think they know what I'm about. But again, you do as a head coach when you first take over and you've been on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I've worked extremely hard at developing those relationships with the defensive guys that maybe I didn't know as well as the offensive players, strictly because I spent so much time with the offense. And that's why somebody asked the other day, like, why do you have the offensive coaches go and spend time with the defensive coaches during stretch and vice versa? It's not just to talk trash. It is to get to know them a little bit and to have some fun because I know how important that is. And, I think it's I'm a relationship guy, man, and I'm never going to apologize for that. And some people think, oh, hey, maybe he's soft. I can promise you I'm not soft. You guys saw that a couple days ago. But relationships are important to me because that's what makes the journey fun.
There's a coaching staff here that believes in you. How have you seen your interaction with him, your coaching staff's interaction with him, and how have you seen that support maybe lead to the results we're seeing?
Well, first of all, I love that because I think that's so important. Part of our job as coaches is to build confidence, to make these guys know that we believe in them. And it doesn't matter if the first guy on the big board or the 91st guy, like all these guys can play. All these guys can help us win. And it's our job to do that. I mean, we talk about Tyler Guyton, Tyler Guyton knows that we think he can be elite, all-pro left tackle. And does that make a difference? Hell yeah, it does. Because when you talk to Tyler Guyton about that, or you talk to Kyer about what a great camp he's having, man, you're seeing things so well. You're reinforcing to him the things that he's already feeling by his performance on the field, but you're letting him know that we as coaches and we as the experts per se that spend all the time watching the film and evaluating, we see it as well. And so it doesn't mean you don't coach them hard. It doesn't mean you don't correct them, but every chance we get to really talk to these guys about what their ceiling is, and man, we just see it, man, and you should be confident. You are playing great. We'd be missing an opportunity if we didn't take advantage of that.
Nicole Hutchison, Dallas Cowboys TV. Troy Pride's been also a guy that's been making plays for you throughout camp. Just how pleased have you been with his consistency so far?
Yeah, great word, consistency. Love the athlete, man. Love the change of direction. Love the quickness that he's shown. And then you talk about just a competitive guy. He plays till the whistle's over, and he's one of those guys that it gets a little chippy in there with him. But again, you guys know me. I love guys that have a chip on their shoulder, and I think TP plays with a chip on his shoulder, and it's very evident when you watch him play. And he'll be that way a little bit today because we're in pads, and it'll be good with our guys kind of thudding around a little bit today.
Jones, CBS Texas. You talk about positive coaching, instilling confidence in your players. Is there someone from your past who did that for you, either growing up or college or anything that
You know, Pete was that way. I mean, Pete Carroll. Coach Spurrier wasn't as much that. He was, well, depending on, during the week, he was kind of that way. And on game day, it was, oof, Jekyll and Hyde. And I love him to death. You guys know that. I've told a lot of stories about him. I've learned some swear words from Coach Spurrier on game day that I didn't, and you guys know I do swear too much. But I'd say the two guys that jump out at me in terms of that type of deal would be Pete Carroll and Dan Quinn. Two guys I'm very close with, two guys that, you know, we've spent a lot of time together. And but it's not even that. I think, you know, I've shared with you guys 4, 5, 6 years ago, I was kind of a little bit down and dejected. I think when I was leaving Seattle about like, you know, man, I've missed my opportunity maybe to be a head coach. And I did a really deep dive into myself and what really mattered to me. And I looked back and I said, what I remember about winning the national championship in Florida was more of the people. I don't remember the exact score of the game when we beat Florida State. I don't remember the score of the game, the first game of the year. But I remember times in the locker room, hanging out with my teammates, James Bates, Lawrence Wright, Sammy McCorkle, you know, Ike Hilliard. I mean, I remember that. And so it's the people side of it. And I think sometimes in today's day and age, you get caught up in the madness of the business and everything, and you realize that, you know, what matters and what you're going to remember is the people side of it. And I think that's why, I have not had the chance to really look at it, but why I love Hall of Fame weekend so much is because I think you see these incredible athletes and they finally get the call to go into the Hall of Fame. And it's like they realize as they're looking out over not only their families and the fans and the people that helped them get there, but they're looking at, again, their peers and the ones that they played with and alongside. And that's what matters, man. It really is what matters. And so, yeah, that's kind of the way I'm wired.
Newy Scruggs, NBC5. You mentioned the Rams coming in here. What do you use that practice time for your running backs to get your evaluations about where you're going to slot these guys and going into the season?
Yeah, you get a ton out of it, number one. I mean, I have a ton of respect for Sean and his staff, and they were so easy to work with last year when we had the scrimmage against them. You know, but in terms of the running backs, right, you know, you're looking at different fronts, you're looking at different matchups, you're looking at different linebackers. Like, you know, our guys are kind of getting a feel. There's a scouting report out on each other, right? Like, if you're Javonte and all of a sudden Sanborn's going to blitz, like you kind of have an idea because they've been going against each other for so long. Okay, he's going to take me on with his near pad, or hey, he's going to fake left and go right. So I think it's just going up against a different jersey, going up against some different looks, some different fronts. And Sean and his staff have been great to work with. And, you know, they're a damn good football team. They're physical. You know, we'll be smart with who we play in the preseason. You know, so it's a chance for you to get a lot of really, really good work with maybe some guys that aren't going to play in the preseason. And again, just he and I talked 2 days ago, and we've kind of finalized the practice schedule, and it should be a hell of a competition.
You're halfway through these 16 practices at camp. Anything you really like, anything you don't like that you want to change up going into the second half of camp?
I think we're taking care of the football better. I like that. You know, I think early on we were turning it over a little bit too much. I think offensively the big plays are starting to show up. We're starting to connect on those. You guys asked me about that the other day. That normally takes time. I love the energy. I love the physicality. I've talked about how we're trying to create calluses and things like that. And I love all the reps we're getting. I mean, really, like, you know, we're going to mix in a little bit of 7-on-7 and 9-on-7 at some point, but I mean, we're getting upwards of 65 to 68, 70 plays of 11-on-11, and it's been really, really good. And we're getting a lot of guys rolling through, and the evaluation process is ongoing. And again, that doesn't slow down as you get, you know, into these game week preps. You know, preseason's not about pulling back. You know, it's about pressing ahead, and that's kind of what we'll do. Yeah. Hey, you're growing. You're getting back. You know, it's almost like going through a version of rehabilitation. You know, you've done the rehab to get your body to where you can be out on the field, and now you're running and your body's going so fast, and you're like, oh man, I'm open. I'm going to catch this, and then you want to catch it and you want to turn up field, and so you drop it. There's zero concerns about his ball skills. He's got elite ball skills, but you know, you point out the great things he's doing. You know, guys like that, you always point out the things that they're doing really well and how amazing it is that you're back already and you didn't start on PUP. And, man, what a testament to you. And, hey, you're going to kick the rust off, and don't worry about that. And that goes a long way with these guys.
All righty. You got one more? Sorry. It's an easy one. About Micah. No.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Next.
You had a stay day yesterday, I believe. Why do you continue that? What do you like?
Yeah, I've told, these guys that if they give me everything that we want as a coaching staff in terms of the energy and the running and the chasing and the pursuit and all that stuff, that, we will take care of, them and give them days like that where we're going to meet. We're going to give you a chance to catch up on film. That's the other thing, that the meetings get longer, and so you're able to kind of stay up to, par and get caught up on some of the film. But let's take care of these guys. And you got 91 guys, whatever, and so the resources, they do get spread thin at times. And so it's about the focus of, okay, we're not practicing today, but you are competing every day to get your body back to where it is so we can throw a hell of a practice today. Say again?
Big on having a vet day.
No, I mean, again, there's different versions of what is a vet day. Do you just not go out there with any stuff on? There's different versions of that. Some guys you want to be smart with. It's a physical game. But no, we're a team and we're a family, and therefore we're going to try to act that way all the time. Are there certain things that do change it from time to time? Of course. But no, we like having everybody out there working and watching and leaning into one another. Good. Thank you, guys.